Welcome into Deep Dive Secrets. Imagine a couple celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. Neighbors, family, and friends look on in admiration, asking how they made it last when so many around them have faltered.
On paper, they had every reason to drift apart: financial struggles, long-distance jobs, health crises, but they endured. What invisible forces, hidden patterns, or unspoken rules guided them to stay together against all odds?
Today, we are uncovering the subtle systems at play behind the longevity of certain couples, particularly in the United States. When people talk about love lasting, the conversation often turns to emotions, passion, compatibility, or romance. While these are essential, research and social analysis reveal a deeper framework. There is a hidden system of behaviors, habits, and environmental factors that make a relationship resilient. It's less about grand gestures and more about small, consistent mechanisms that operate in the background, quietly influencing outcomes. Think of it like a machine.
The gears are invisible,
Yet they determine whether the whole structure stands or collapses under pressure. Consider a seemingly ordinary evening in Des Moines, Iowa. A couple sits down to dinner after long, separate days at work. On the surface, nothing extraordinary is happening.
yet subtle routines. The way they listen, respond,
And negotiate spazer, activating what psychologists call the attachment reinforcement loop. This loop is part of a broader system that strengthens bonds over time beyond immediate affection.
It operates silently, reinforcing trust, interdependence, and shared identity.
These are not concepts most people think about, yet they are measurable predictors of long-term relational success. The system itself is multi-layered. It starts with individual psychology. Each person's emotional intelligence, coping mechanisms, and past experiences shape how they respond to conflict or stress. Then it extends to relational patterns, the unspoken agreements, rituals, and shared narratives that couple build over years. Finally, external factors like community support, financial stability, and cultural norms act as amplifiers or stressors. When all three layers align, the relationship becomes unusually resilient. When misaligned, even a couple with strong feelings may struggle. Take, for example, couples navigating dual careers in major U.S. cities such as New York or Los Angeles. High-pressure jobs, long commutes, and expensive housing often create tension that could destabilize relationships. Yet some couples thrive beyond love or commitment. They leverage structured routines, deliberate communication practices, and strategic conflict resolution. They create predictable environments for their relationship, which functions as a safety net during crises. These systems may appear mundane: shared calendars, weekly or financial transparency, but they are the hidden scaffolding that supports long-term stability. Another critical element is understanding and managing expectations.
Many couples enter marriage or long-term partnerships with implicit assumptions about roles, responsibilities, or emotional needs.
Misalignment often leads to repeated conflicts. The most enduring couples, however, develop a process of iterative negotiation. This is a system where expectations are regularly revisited and adjusted based on evolving circumstances. It may sound simple, but most relationships fail to implement such a disciplined approach,
Relying instead on hope or passive tolerance.
Cultural context in the United States also shapes these systems. Studies show that Americans who have strong social networks, access to mental health resources, and community engagement tend to have higher relationship longevity. Social reinforcement, seeing peers prioritize and celebrate enduring partnerships, creates positive feedback loops. Conversely, environments that normalize transient connections or high mobility can introduce friction,
Making intentional systems even more vital. What about conflict itself?
Conflict is inevitable, yet its handling is what differentiates enduring couples from those who separate. There is a hidden system of low-intensity compromises that prevent resentment from accumulating. Couples who master this system do not avoid conflict. They navigate it strategically, ensuring that disagreements become opportunities for growth rather than erosion. This system is rarely visible from the outside, but it forms the backbone of sustainable intimacy. Finally, there is the element of shared purpose. Couples who last tend to embed themselves in something larger than daily survival or momentary pleasure. It could be raising children, building a business, community service, or even shared intellectual or creative pursuits. This shared purpose functions as a stabilizing anchor. The hidden system here is the intentional alignment of values and goals, creating interdependency that strengthens the relationship beyond emotional attachment alone. As we will explore, these systems are not fixed rules, but adaptive frameworks. They involve observation, feedback, and continuous adjustment. Each couple may develop unique methods tailored to their personalities, circumstances, and environment. What remains constant, however, is the underlying architecture, psychological awareness, relational patterns, external reinforcements, conflict management, and shared purpose. These 5 pillars form the invisible network that supports couples in the United States to stay together against all odds. By the end of this series, we will reveal exactly how these systems operate in everyday life, why they often go unnoticed, and how ordinary couples leverage extraordinary mechanisms to maintain connection, trust, and resilience. You may even begin to see parallels in your own life or relationships, uncovering patterns that silently dictate outcomes. If we return to the example of couples navigating high-pressure careers in cities like New York, the first step in understanding the system is breaking down its structure. The system consists of multiple interconnected layers: individual emotional regulation, relational routines, conflict management mechanisms, and environmental reinforcements. Each layer functions as both a shield and a conduit, allowing couples to endure stress while also strengthening connection. Starting with individual emotional regulation, to manage their internal state in ways that prevent impulsive or destructive behaviors in the relationship. Psychologists define emotional regulation as the process by which individuals influence which emotions they have, when they have them, and how they experience and express them. For example, consider a software engineer in San Francisco whose job demands frequent overtime. Instead of venting frustration directly at their partner, they follow a personal routine of short mindfulness exercises and journaling after work. By stabilizing their emotional state, they prevent spillover conflict and maintain productive communication. These are repeated, intentional actions that structure interaction between partners. They may include daily rituals like morning coffee together, shared digital calendars for scheduling. Each routine functions as a stabilizing signal. A 2021 study by the University of Denver found that couples who engage in at least one structured relational ritual per week report 30% higher satisfaction over a 5-year period than those who do not. These routines act like gears in a clock, small, continuous movements that keep the whole system synchronized. Conflict management mechanisms form the third layer. Here, couples use structured approaches to handle disagreements before resentment accumulates. One system widely studied in the United States is the soft startup technique, popularized by psychologist John Gottman. It involves initiating a discussion about conflict with gentle language, avoiding blame, and stating needs clearly. You never help with chores. A partner might say, "I feel overwhelmed with household tasks and would appreciate your support." This step-by-step step-by-step method prevents micro-conflicts from escalating and integrates naturally into daily life, creating a long-term habit of resolution. Environmental reinforcement is another hidden system that impacts longevity. This layer consists of external factors like social support networks, community norms, and economic stability.
In Chicago, a couple actively participates in neighborhood events, religious groups, and parent-teacher associations.
These social structures reinforce the value of commitment by embedding the couple in communities that honor stability and cooperative behavior. Financial systems also matter. Couples who openly manage budgets and plan long-term savings reduce uncertainty-driven conflict. The hidden mechanism here is feedback. Consistent positive reinforcement from the environment strengthens relational resilience.
Shared purpose is often overlooked, but vital. Couples who identify joint goals or larger missions beyond day-to-day living experience higher durability. Sociologists define shared purpose as alignment in values, goals, or external projects that give the relationship meaning.
For example, a couple running a small business in Austin not only shares financial responsibility, but also cultivates a sense of joint achievement and interdependence. This layer produces what relationship researchers call identity fusion, a strong psychological connection where the couple's successes and challenges are deeply interlinked. Understanding how these layers interact is crucial. Imagine them as a system of pulleys. Emotional regulation reduces tension and conflict. Relational routines keep interactions predictable. Conflict mechanisms resolve friction before it accumulates. Environmental reinforcement provides continuous support. And shared purpose anchors the relationship in meaning. If any one of these components weakens, the system's stability is compromised, increasing the risk of separation. Practical U.S. examples illustrate this system in action in suburban communities.
Couples often rely on predictable weekly patterns like coordinated sports practices for children or shared volunteer work.
These routines generate small but powerful consistency signals. In urban settings with high mobility, couples implement strict digital calendars, virtually check-ins, and conflict resolution frameworks to counteract environmental unpredictability.
Across both scenarios, the hidden system operates subtly but persistently, shaping outcomes over years and decades.
Misconceptions about what keeps couples together are common.
Many assume it is passion, attraction, or purely emotional compatibility. In reality, these elements are often transient.
The system that underpins longevity is practical, structural, and couples with high emotional alignment but weak systems may falter during crisis, while those with robust relational frameworks can endure long-term stress even if initial passion fluctuates. In addition, the system allows for adaptation. Couples continuously adjust routines, conflict strategies, and external engagement based on changing life circumstances. A study conducted in 2019 by the University of Michigan highlighted that couples who explicitly monitored and adapted their relational practices were 40% more likely to report satisfaction after 10 years.
Compared to couples relying solely on emotional compatibility.
Adaptation functions as a meta layer, ensuring the entire system remains functional as life circumstances evolve.
Finally, these mechanisms are cumulative.
Each positive interaction, resolved conflict, or shared achievement compounds over time, strengthening trust and emotional security.
Conversely, repeated negative cycles erode the system incrementally. This explains why couples may appear ordinary on the surface yet display extraordinary resilience. It is the consistent operation of hidden, often invisible processes over years that creates lasting connection.
By now, now, the hidden systems that support long-term couples are clear. But the true depth of their influence emerges only when we examine escalation and long-term consequences.
Enduring relationships are rarely smooth.
And unseen pitfalls threaten even the most stable partnerships. Understanding these dynamics requires looking at what happens when the system is stressed and how couples either adapt or falter. One critical area is stress amplification.
In the United States, high-cost urban living, career transitions, and health challenges create cumulative stress.
Couples without a well-established system often experience what psychologists call spillover stress, where tension from one domain, such as work, directly impacts relationship interactions. For instance, a marketing executive in Los Angeles may return home emotionally drained. If the couple lacks routines for decompression or micro-resolutions for minor disagreements, even a small argument over household chores can escalate into prolonged conflict over months or years. These repeated episodes erode trust and emotional connection.
Escalation also occurs in financial strain.
According to
A 2020 survey by the American Family Survey.
financial disagreements are one of the top 3 predictors of divorce in the U.S. when partners fail to align on budgeting, savings, or spending priorities. Small disagreements snowball into chronic tension. Couples who implement transparent budgeting systems, shared financial planning, and structured discussions about money are less vulnerable. The hidden consequence is clear. Systemic alignment in finance not only prevents conflict, but strengthens mutual confidence in long-term stability. Another long-term pitfall is the erosion of relational routines.
As careers, children, and external commitments increase, daily or weekly rituals can slip.
Skipping even small, predictable interactions reduces the signaling that maintains connection. Sociologists describe this as a ritual decay effect,
Where the absence of consistent, shared patterns slowly weakens attachment.
For example, a couple who once had nightly dinners together may gradually substitute them with solo meals.
texting instead of conversing. Without intentional intervention, the hidden structure that once reinforced intimacy gradually collapses. Conflict handling mechanisms are particularly vulnerable during escalation.
Couples may initially follow effective strategies like soft startups or structured compromise.
Over time, however, accumulated frustration or resentment can lead to negative override.
A phenomenon where negative perceptions outweigh positive interactions.
In practical terms, a partner might perceive even neutral statements as criticism.
The hidden danger is that the same mechanisms that once stabilized the relationship can fail if partners stop consciously practicing them. Without early intervention, micro-resolutions give way to persistent conflict loops. Shared purpose,
Two, can suffer long-term consequences if neglected.
life circumstances evolve, and goals may diverge.
For example, one partner may focus on career advancement while the other prioritizes family or community involvement.
The absence of realignment creates what psychologists call goal misalignment stress.
Subtly weakening the sense of interdependence.
Couples who actively reassess shared missions and adjust roles maintain cohesion, while those who ignore divergence risk gradual disengagement.
It's important to note that adaptation, the met layer that allows the system to survive, is not automatic.
Studies in relational psychology show that couples who engage in deliberate reflection,
Structured feedback and external coaching are far more likely to sustain long-term satisfaction. Without conscious adaptation, even strong systems degrade under cumulative pressures.
For instance, couples with long commutes in cities like Boston or Houston must reconfigure relational routines, conflict strategies, and environmental engagement regularly to counter stress. Failure to do so accelerates relational erosion. Interestingly, some U.S. couples survive extreme stress through compensatory systems. Military families, for example, often endure prolonged separation and frequent relocations. Their resilience is not purely emotional. It is a function of strict routines, high communication discipline, community networks, and shared purpose aligned with service obligations. The long-term consequence is that these couples develop robust, flexible systems that not only withstand typical pressures, but prepare them for extraordinary disruptions.
However, there are hidden pitfalls that even these high-functioning couples face.
Emotional suppression, over-reliance on routines without genuine engagement.
Or ignoring misalignments in goals can create structural complacency.
In such cases, relationships appear stable externally but suffer internal stagnation. Over Descartes, this can manifest as emotional distance, reduced intimacy, or even sudden breakdowns following seemingly minor triggers. The lesson is that longevity requires continual monitoring and conscious upkeep of the underlying systems.
Another consequence of long-term hidden system operation is the compounding effect of trust and interdependence.
Trust operates as a cumulative resource. Each instance of reliability, transparency,
or effective conflict resolution adds to a reservoir that can buffer future stress.
conversely, repeated missteps deplete trust, making the system fragile. Couples who understand this hidden dynamic actively maintain and repair trust using micro-affirmations, consistent follow-through,
And explicit communication to reinforce confidence. Couples embedded in supportive communities experience positive reinforcement that magnifies system efficiency. Conversely, social environments that normalize transient connections, frequent relocations, or low commitment intensify system stress. The hidden consequences that even couples with strong personal systems must actively seek stable social networks to maintain long-term resilience. Through these mechanisms, it becomes clear that staying together against all odds is not random luck or mere emotional chemistry. It is the outcome of structured, dynamic systems that manage stress, prevent escalation, reinforced trust, and maintain alignment over decades. When these systems operate continuously, they shield couples from ordinary pressures, compensate for extraordinary ones.
As we move toward closure, it's time to highlight the key lessons from these hidden systems,
Translating them into actionable insights for understanding why some couples endure against all odds.
What emerges is a framework that blends psychology, behavioral routines, and environmental factors into a coherent picture of long-term relational resilience.
First, emotional regulation is foundational. Individuals who can manage their own stress and emotions create a stable internal environment which prevents negative spillover into the relationship. The practical takeaway is that enduring couples invest in personal journaling, exercise, or counseling to maintain equilibrium.
It is not about eliminating stress, but handling it in ways that preserve relational stability.
Second, relational routines are powerful yet understated. Predictable shared practices, from weekly check-ins to simple daily rituals, provide consistency and reassurance. Visualization cues like charts or calendars can help couples track their routines, reinforcing patterns of interaction. The lesson here is that small, regular actions accumulate over time, creating invisible scaffolding that holds the relationship together. Third, conflict management is an ongoing, adaptive system rather than a one-time skill. Couples who thrive adopt structured approaches, like soft startups and micro-resolutions, preventing minor disagreements from escalating. The key is consistency. Even when life becomes chaotic, the system of conflict resolution must remain operational. For practical implementation, couples can schedule regular reflection sessions, discuss emerging challenges early, and maintain open lines of communication, avoiding reactive arguments.
Fourth,
Environmental reinforcement cannot be ignored.
Community, social network, and financial stability provide external scaffolding that amplifies or weakens relationship systems. Couples who intentionally cultivate supportive environments through friendships, neighborhood engagement, or professional networks gain resilience against external stressors. Even relocating, changing jobs, or major life events can be buffered by strong environmental anchors.
Fifth, shared purpose is both a stabilizer and a motivator.
Alignment in values, goals, and broader missions transforms daily interactions into meaningful collaboration. Whether raising children, pursuing a joint business, or volunteering, shared purpose creates interdependence and identity fusion, which deepens commitment. Couples who periodically revisit and realign their goals maintain connection even as circumstances evolve. A recurring theme across all these lessons is adaptability. Systems are not static. They require continual observation, feedback, and adjustment. Misalignment in routines, conflict strategies, or shared purpose can weaken the entire structure if left unaddressed. Couples who actively monitor and refine their practices demonstrate not just endurance, but growth, turning challenges into opportunities for deeper intimacy. Another insight is the cumulative power of micro-interactions.
Enduring couples understand that lasting resilience is built incrementally.
Each resolved disagreement, every act of transparency, and each consistent routine contributes to the system's long-term health.
Conversely, repeated neglect, miscommunication, or avoidance erodes trust and destabilizes the relationship.
Visualization tools like cumulative progress charts or journaling can help couples track these micro-interactions, making the invisible system tangible.
Finally, it's crucial to recognize misconceptions.
Longevity is often mistakenly attributed solely to romance or emotional compatibility. In reality, systematic behaviors, adaptive routines, and environmental reinforcement drive the outcomes we admire. Passion alone may fade, but the invisible system properly maintained ensures that connection endures beyond transient emotions. These insights converge into a clear framework: emotional regulation, relational routines, conflict management, environmental reinforcement, shared purpose, and adaptability.
Together, they form the hidden system that allows certain couples in the U.S. to withstand stress,
Navigate, change, and sustain intimacy over decades.
Understanding this system illuminates why some partnerships survive against odds that would overwhelm others.
Providing a blueprint for resilience that is both practical and measurable. As we conclude this journey into the hidden systems behind enduring relationships,
it is important to tie everything together and highlight the subtle forces that keep some couples together against all odds. This exploration has revealed that longevity is rarely a matter of luck or passion alone.
instead, it is the outcome of carefully maintained, often invisible structures operating across emotional, behavioral, and environmental layers. Deep Dive Secrets brings you this understanding not to prescribe how to live,
but to illuminate patterns that shape outcomes in everyday American life.
Couples who thrive do so by combining emotional regulation, structured relational routines, adaptive conflict management, environmental reinforcement, and shared purpose. These elements interact continuously, producing compounding effects that build trust, intimacy, and resilience over decades. For viewers, the key takeaway is that these mechanisms are accessible.
They are not abstract theories reserved for academics or psychologists.
Daily routines, deliberate communication, shared goals, and conscious adaptation form a framework that any couple can observe, reflect on, and adjust. Understanding these hidden systems allows us to see relationships not as static states of fortune, but as dynamic processes that can be intentionally nurtured.
If you found value in uncovering these unseen systems,
Deep Dive Secrets offers a wide range of explorations into the hidden structures that shape our lives, from social networks to urban planning, from education systems to personal habits. Every video dissects the frameworks we often overlook, but that govern outcomes in measurable ways. By following these insights, viewers can not only appreciate the subtle forces at play in relationships,
but also recognize similar patterns in broader aspects of daily life.
we encourage you to like this video, subscribe for more deep dives into hidden systems, and share it with friends who may find these insights valuable. Comment below with examples of routines, adaptations, or systems you've noticed in long-lasting relationships, and join the discussion. The more we observe and reflect on these mechanisms, the better we can understand how invisible systems quietly shape our experiences. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. Brought to you by Deep Dive Secrets. Every long-lasting partnership has its unseen framework, and now you have a clearer view of the hidden gears at work.